Investors had lost $2.5 billion in July on the 50 most heavily shorted publicly traded U.S. stocks. These companies include meme stock representatives such as Kohl's, and the average loss from shorting these stocks is 4 times higher than the overall average short selling loss in the U.S. stock market. As retail investors' enthusiasm for speculative stocks surges, several heavily shorted stocks have seen sharp rallies, putting significant pressure on short sellers. Now, don't stop me there. Japan 10-year yield eases ahead of Bank of Japan decision. The Japanese 10-year government bond yield edged down towards around 1.57% on Monday, pulling back slightly from the near 17-year highs as investors positioned ahead of the Bank of Japan's policy decision this week. Now, this was barely a move, and you can kind of tell where they are actually positioning. We would have seen a bigger move down. Now, the Bank of Japan is widely expected to leave interest rates unchanged amid lingering concerns over the economic impact of recent U.S. tariffs. However, the central bank is likely to revise its inflation forecast higher in its quarterly outlook, reflecting persistent price pressures. Markets will also be watching for Bank of Japan's updated guidance on Japanese government bond purchases, which could influence yield dynamics. And we are also seeing the Federal Reserve announce a rate decision this week, and major announcements come out. We saw the DXY rise today, coming back up to 98. SPY touched 640 in pre-market trading, now down to 637, kind of building a base at Friday's close. There's a couple of dip zones. If the SPY continues to show extremely strong strength, which is very possible that it could, especially seeing that short sellers are actually getting short squeezed on the overall market as well as on heavily shorted stocks, which we have been seeing with Kohl's, Krispy Kreme, GoPro, GNS, BYON, so on and so on and so on, right? RKT, the list can go on and on. Now, there's a couple of reasons here that the SPY should sell off a little bit further. One, we have crazy data coming out alongside probably the biggest week of earnings for the quarter, but the RSI on the daily time frame, a macro time frame, is showing very, very, very overbought on the SPY. We are all the way up at about a 75, 76 on the RSI. Overbought is anything at 70 or higher. So it is very, very, very overbought on the SPY. But again, you can't put it past it because we are basically witnessing a short squeeze. So you can't put it past coming right up to our $644 level. Now, what would a healthy pullback look like? Well, a pullback that is likely 635.70. This is one dip zone where volume increases, buyers might step in. Another dip zone is anything between 630 and 628.40. Following that, you have 623.30 to 620. These are very close dip zones, and that would only be a very average correction of about 2.5%. If we decided to test these dip zones, which is very healthy, we could easily pull to those and then continue rallying from there. A healthier pullback, in my opinion, would be about a 6% correction, which would essentially take the SPY down to about 600. That is a pullback that I would personally like to see, but we are seeing extremely, extremely strong momentum. Now, Samsung to produce Tesla chips in $16.5 billion multi-year deal. We saw Tesla end up rising right back up after having an awful earnings. Tesla's one of the most volatile blue chip stocks out there. It crashes, it skyrockets. It crashes, it skyrockets. The CEO, richest man alive, it's involved in politics. Then he's not involved in politics. Then he says something crazy. Then it just, Tesla is very, very volatile. And the amount of times we've lost critical levels that would point towards Tesla having further downside into the 200s and then just completely invalidated it. It just makes it something very, very risky to trade. Now, talking about risky trades, I want to talk about the earnings very quickly. Now, Tuesday before open, so tomorrow, which you'd have to position now if you were going to play them, is UNH, United Health. I want to talk about this one because this one has huge opportunity. It has opportunity both ways, but we already saw a massive sell-off. Now, the setup is kind of pointing towards the downside. However, I think UNH is very oversold, and there's a high possibility that we could see a massive gain on this stock. How high of a gain could we possibly see on UNH? Well, we could see it basically take back all of the losses that it incurred over the past 2 to 3 weeks, which I believe we could see a move up to 320, about a 13% move. How high of risk, how high of reward, vary on both ends. The contracts are probably extremely expensive, and also it just poses huge risk, as UNH could very well drop 13% as well, right? Ultimately, I'm watching for about an 11 to 13% move on this one way or the other, either a retest of 249.50 or a jump to 320. Now, ARM also reports earnings. Someone's just bought $11 million worth of ARM $170 calls. This is one that I kind of had drawn out, never really touched the charts following that. We had a golden cross on the daily. We got a retracement all the way after testing this order block up here, this sell block at 168.40, dropped all the way down to 140. Then we were looking for the next move up to around 180. Now, this reports earnings on Wednesday. Keep this one on your radar. I think ARM has the possibility, the opportunity to break out into price discovery. I don't know how high it will push on earnings, but I would lean bullish on ARM. Now, the most important week of earnings season is here, which two we just covered, but over 37% of QQQ reports earnings this week, including Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, and Meta, which will drastically affect the market alongside the interest rate decision. Now, chip stocks have been doing extremely well. As many of you know, I will continue to buy up NVIDIA coming into August 5th. Do I want to buy at these prices? I'm kind of cooling down a bit, either skipping days or buying very tiny amounts as we make our way to 179.50, which I think will be a major resistance level for AMD unless earnings blow estimates out of the water, which earnings is coming up, but not this week, Tuesday, August 5th. Okay, NVIDIA also skyrocketing as well, all-time highs of 175.60. And Broadcom is another one that we decided to stop paying attention to for some odd reason, but this one has been just rallying for quite a while. All right, let's talk about crypto and our meme stock plays. What is going on with crypto? Well, we saw a major pullback, not a major pullback, a minor pullback that is kind of spooking people out of their positions and trying to decide, well, are we going to go into altcoin season or not? Well, the likelihood of us going into a higher high for Bitcoin as well as alts really comes down to August, but based on the monthly candle for July that we're about to see close, we're already seeing a lineup, a setup for a bullish August, and then possibly a crash following that, right? Because that is essentially what most of the time you're going to see. Bitcoin got a healthy pullback, in my opinion, on the 1 hour. We're just seeing a lot of consolidation. I think it's too early to tell the direction that things are going to go. Ethereum is clearly in this blue cycle where it sells off into it and decides to climb and peak higher. It does it basically every single time we enter this cycle. Are we at the peak where we're going to sell off? Well, again, only time will tell. But as we see Bitcoin dominance possibly retreat, then we could see capital rotate into Ethereum and then these other small altcoins. Keep in mind, short sellers are underwater on stocks and altcoins as well, likely. I just speculate on these altcoins that is the case. Bonk got a nasty pullback, but overall, it's just been consolidating. Gamestop, no movement today. Once again, we can just cover it time and time again. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Weekly golden cross. If you haven't seen the video, is GameStop just hopium? Go watch that video because it's not. It's literally just a waiting game. But what I can tell you is that I do believe we are on the verge of something very, very soon. And the same thing applies. The same narrative applies. Why is that? That is the reverse carry trade. We are about to see, like it says right here, high influence of yield dynamics over to Japanese government bonds, which will put pressure on swaps. And we also just have to see what is going on with the money supply, as well as how these countries are negotiating with each other, as well as showing that shorts aren't really navigating it correctly. Same goes with AMC. AMC reports earnings next week. I don't want to speak too soon. I've seen bullish flow for AMC as well as bullish analyst expectations for their earnings outlook. Right now, there's no reason to go red on earnings or puts on earnings, except for the fact that most of the time after earnings, AMC does sell off. Is it worth playing? Possibly. This is possibly one of the better earnings that's worth playing because we could see a turnaround in the company, which would kind of just spark heavy optimism alongside the point of interest that we are in coming into a bullish August, alongside a possible move on other squeeze plays. And that brings me last but not least into GNS. GNS we've talked about for about 2 weeks now, waiting for this pullback sub $1. We're at 101, and I am debating on picking some up right around 99 cents. If we broke under 91 cents, I would cut my position. But GNS could see a catalyst very soon as their lawsuit proceeds to go further, and we're going to see a possible outcome with this as well. But again, if there's no evidence, GNS short interest according to several platforms has dropped off a cliff. If there's no evidence, this crashes and you're trying to catch a falling knife. That is why I put it. That is why I personally would put a stop loss under 91 cents. Overall, guys, nothing I say is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Thank you for watching today's video. Hopefully you found value out of the video or just enjoyed hanging out and watching the video. If you're not in the Discord yet, it's a top link in the description of the video. All 7,000 of you guys who come watch this video should join the Discord. We have tons of benefits in there. We talk stocks and crypto all day long. We have AI trade alerts, options, sweep alerts, dark pool trade alerts, insider trade alerts, analyst updates, and more. So if you're not in there, get in there, guys. It's a top link in the description. That is it. Let's make some money this week, and let me know what earnings you guys are playing in the comments down below. I love you all. God bless. Lottery Stocks out.